Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Gay with God podcast. This is Midge Noble, your host, and the author of Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story. So today you're going to hear about Jay Jackson. And if that name is familiar, it's because we just talked to him last week on the Gay with God podcast. And we were so excited to invite Jay back because we just started to begin to talk about Reiki and how invested he is in that healing modality. And so we're going to bring him back to go more in depth. So you can go back to the Gay with God podcast, look for last week's session, and you'll be able to hear his coming out and faith journey story, which you don't want to miss. That was really, really a great conversation. But today we're going to talk more about Reiki because Jay is a licensed Reiki master teacher, mentor, widowed gay man, former ICU and hospice nurse, and founder of Lumen Reiki Academy. His work centers on Reiki as a gentle path of healing, belonging, spiritual reclamation, and returning to the sacred self. Don't we all need that right now? We need to return to our sacred self, and we need to reclaim a lot of things. So, Jay, welcome back to the Gay with God house.
Thank you. Oh, and sacred self is,
Oh,
that's for me, that's the core
mm-hmm.
of what I do with Reiki, is us finding our sacred selves. And so much of our healing is finding that sacred self and allowing ourselves to be recognized as sacred beings.
Yes.
Because many of us have had so many horrible messages our way that we were less than light. We were, this, we were that. And usually we didn't get those messages of being sacred.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
man, Reiki helps me find my sacred self. And that's why I'm so grateful to be able to talk to you about Reiki. Because
Yeah.
one of the things I do, because I'm just going off the cuff here, but
Mm-hmm.
when I'm preparing for a session, when I'm having a client come in for a Reiki healing session, I prepare myself as sacred space first.
Mm.
That's the first step I do. I create sacred space within myself. And then I create sacred space within the physical space where my client and I will be, whether it's even if it's on a virtual thing. So finding that sacred divine self is so important.
Okay, so let's break that down because
Yeah.
if no one's ever heard about Reiki and this modality, they're probably used to maybe coaching or therapy or some other kind of modality to heal. Even if you go into a doctor's office, it's very clinical, it's very stark, lots of bright lights. So if you're going to get yourself into your sacred self, what does that look like? Are you meditating? Are you putting on music? How do you claim that?
So for me, within certain levels of Reiki, there are specific symbols that we work with that help us prepare. And that's the means of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use those symbols and meditate, and I just see myself as that divine being,
Mm-hmm.
that divine essence of the those beautiful worlds, and then the other part that we like to touch.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a meditation process that I
Mm-hmm.
go through in creating that sacred self and that divine space that I'm creating, as well as in my space that I'm a physical space around me as well.
Mm-hmm. I
So
know that,
it's
I'm sorry.
go
I was
ahead.
just going to say that I know that in my experience from sessions that I've had, it is, the room is not clinical. It is it is usually very beautiful in space. It's natural. The lights are low, everything, and they'll ask, "Do you want some music playing? Do you want something else?" And so they kind of get a feel for how you're going to feel comfortable, like if you want any kind of sense, going up into diffusing into the air or whatever. So, and it may be different too if you're doing it on Zoom. So,
It's, but we still try to create that energetically,
right,
though.
right.
I come across that way energetically
Mm-hmm.
with my sessions. It becomes more of a warm embrace,
Mm-hmm.
invitation. So you're being welcomed, and then we're allowing those divine frequencies to come in
Mm-hmm.
to do that healing work.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the ways that Reiki works is that, so Reiki comes from a history of Japanese, and it's actually origins come from like in the 1920s.
Wow.
Um, and so they recognize that we have negative energy within our bodies. This doesn't mean it's evil. It just
Mm-hmm.
means negative energy blocks something that we've kept and
Mm-hmm.
stored.
Mm-hmm.
And they call that bioki. So it's negative energy. And then they also recognize that we have Jinki. And Jinki is positive energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wonderful energy that keeps us really going. And so when I'm doing a Reiki session, I'm just allowing those energy, those God frequencies, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
to come into that client. Or if I'm doing a session on myself, allowing it to come into myself to enhance that Jinki, enhance my good energy. But then it's also going to go in and look for the bioki, the blocks in my energy systems. And then when it finds those blocks, it helps break them up,
Mm-hmm.
helps move them out. It repurposes it to Jinki, or it moves it completely out. If it's a trauma, I want it moved clear out. And then it also removes the programming,
Ooh.
because how many of us have had programming? So, yes, we've had a lot of programming that we
Mm-hmm.
want to move out. So, I don't want to continue to, you know, be stuck in that programming. Let's move
Mm-hmm.
it out. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how Reiki works, and just in a nutshell, is that
Mm-hmm.
it's going in, enhancing the good energy, removing the negative energy. And I can be here in Ecuador
Mm-hmm.
and have a session, or if I had a session with somebody here in person, I don't even have to touch them.
Mm-hmm.
Some people prefer touch, and so that depends on the Reiki practitioner and where they live, and if they are can be licensed in that state in order to touch. So
Mm-hmm.
some states, like Florida, you have to be a massage therapist if you're
Okay.
going to touch the client. Other states you can touch, but as long as you don't manipulate the tissue, then you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it just depends on where you're at, but it's effective just off the body, not
Mm-hmm.
because you can feel the energy, you can feel the vibrations. So it's just really really cool, because one of this in our Reiki 2 class, there's several series of classes you take. We learn about distance healing,
Mm-hmm.
and in the distance healing, we can heal in the future, we can heal the past, we can heal generational injuries.
Wow.
And so it becomes extremely transformative. And of course, then we can heal throughout the world. We
Wow.
can send it across the world very, very
Mm-hmm.
easily done. And it's, I had a couple of students here a couple of months ago that just they were came to class, but they were still a little skeptical that
Mm-hmm.
having class via Zoom would I still really feel this, would I be able to get this? And they were really quite shocked
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, they were getting it, and they felt the energies coming into them through the class and through that process of them being initiated into being able to conduct Reiki sessions. And then they were
Mm-hmm.
feeling it from the other students when they were sharing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just really amazing. So, but how many of us have had generational abuses that have come through? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe, 300 years ago, one of our great grandfathers stubbed his toe coming home, and then the child was excited to see dad and was climbing up on him and stepped on his dad's toe, and he had to move him off kind of gruffly, and then that kid personalized that,
Oh,
and
felt it
then
as a rejection or something.
felt it as a rejection, and
Uh-huh.
then he used that type of rejection with his own family, and then
Mm.
on and on and on and on it goes.
Wow.
So I like to send Reiki going clear back into that timeline,
Mm-hmm.
heal all those things, break those cycles up, those
Mm-hmm.
generational cycles, and change it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love what I do.
I can tell. Well, I'd never heard about the generational injuries. I'd never heard about that before. And I love the idea of reprogramming because because we always kind of go back to what we knew before and we never think about changing the program necessarily in our bodies energetically. But I really do believe it. And my wife and I were actually talking about this the other day about how generational trauma, because we were watching the show Roots where people track their
Yes,
ancestry
yes.
and all of the generational pain that came from slavery and all of that abuse, and that a lot of trauma is generational. And we know that as far as therapy goes, that families kind of bring it all up throughout all of the generations. And so I love that there's a method that we could use to clear the energy of all of that negativity and trauma.
And like I said, heal the programming that
Mm-hmm.
came with it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
permanent. It's not hard coded into us. It's just something that we learned from our
Mm-hmm.
parents, and we can unlearn it, and we can break the cycle. And so I love seeing people breaking the cycles within their
Mm-hmm.
families.
Right.
That's just a beautiful thing. And for those of us who've had traumas
Mm-hmm.
due to because that we're are gay,
Mm-hmm.
lesbian, you name it, man, what messages that we had. We don't have to accept those messages,
Mm-hmm.
and we can reprogram that trauma. We can reprogram it, and now it can become a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
And so you think about, okay, yeah, that trauma taught me something, and I'm going to take that as a teaching. I'm not going to accept it as a trauma anymore. Now I'm going to allow it to empower me, that I can rise above um, that trauma that I had.
How do we know if it's a trauma? To identify that there was a trauma back there when Grandpa stubbed his toe, great 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 grandpa.
Well, you know,
How do you recognize that in a person, or how does the person recognize that they have generational trauma?
a lot of times it's because we're seeing that pattern.
Mm,
I'm being treated this way from because my grandfather was that way, my father was that way, or mothers, or
mm-hmm,
however the case may be. And so we just see that as a reoccurring thing that, oh yeah,
mm-hmm,
a lot of times we don't understand that that is a generational trauma. We
mm-hmm,
know it's a trauma, but we don't recognize that it's a generational trauma.
mm-hmm,
Maybe I blame my father for the way he treated me,
mm-hmm,
but I don't take into account how he was treated,
mm-hmm,
how he grew up,
mm-hmm,
and try to understand that, oh, there's more to his story,
mm-hmm,
more to mom's story, what she dealt with. And then we can start offering some grace to them
mm-hmm,
for surviving and trying to do the best they can
mm-hmm,
with the tools they had. So, but often we have a hard time understanding that, yes, that is generational trauma. We
mm-hmm,
see the dysfunction. So that's usually the first key. I know there's a dysfunction in my life.
mm-hmm,
How am I going to make that dysfunction shift somehow?
mm-hmm,
And sometimes it takes several shifts in order to get
mm-hmm.
it done completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that's really kind of the big thing. So I may ask a question and just kind of will kind of understand and know for myself that, yeah, that was a generational trauma. This isn't something you made up.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that, this was kind of shoved on you, and we can heal this. We can be
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a real powerful tool that we can use.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, that sounds very interesting. So I'm going to just dump all my trauma on you.
Okay. And do you know what? And I'll just take it, I'll
You'll take
sweep it
it.
up, and I'll put it in the dust pail over
Okay.
here,
Okay.
and we'll send it out to the because I'm not going to take it personally.
Okay, good. That's right. That's where you zip up that energy and you
Yeah.
close those doors.
And so no, I don't worry about it. So I don't have to
Right.
close the door to it because it's not
Mm-hmm.
mine. I just don't accept it. I'll just
Uh-huh.
sweep it down. I'll just put it down into the ground. Just allow it to go there. So the negative energy that the clients have is nothing for me to be afraid of because
Mm-hmm.
I'm using Reiki. I'm glowing through that energy. And
Mm-hmm.
so something that's not going to help me, it's not going to affect me.
Right.
And down, and I can just move it out the client's energy field and
Mm-hmm.
allow it to be repurposed. And
Yeah.
because I don't want to use fear base.
Mm.
Because if I use fear base, then yeah, I am going to
Mm-hmm.
be attracting somebody and it's going to stick on me.
Yeah.
And I don't want that.
And that's why it's so important that you do your own personal grounding and that you get into your sacred self
Exactly.
so that you've got that energetic barrier anyway, because you have that essence.
And it's also for me as a gay person who my at one point in my life, my soul mission was to be invisible
Mm.
because the bullies,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to shine bright. I didn't want to attract any attention and clear down to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but now I can shine bright.
Mm.
I don't have to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could go back. And so this sometimes is part of the healing process. Go back energetically to those times and give a boost, a positive energy to that 14-year-old.
Mm.
Send them some love when all of a sudden they were gay Jay and no
Mm-hmm.
one would sit next to them in school.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's when started to become invisible. Well,
Mm-hmm.
invisibility doesn't work so well in life, and it doesn't lead to a very fulfilling life.
Right.
And so now I can let that go, heal those aspects that allowed me to accept it,
Mm-hmm.
and shine bright. I think we are in a much better place than our current generations that are growing up before us that
Mm-hmm.
have a lot more support than a lot of us did,
Mm-hmm.
and which I'm so grateful for. I just had it, and it was just so fun. This is just a half hour before this call. I had a friend message me and says, "My younger sister was in town." In a town called Ibarra, which is about a half hour, 45 minutes away from here. And they were having a parade. And it was a gay parade in this little town. He says, "Can you believe I'd never heard of such a thing?" To me, it was such here in Ecuador in a little, in a smaller
Nice.
community, they were
Nice.
having a gay parade. It's just beautiful.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, how did you hear about Reiki? Where did you learn about it? Get
Oh, that's a
invested?
great question because ooh, so, so I was always a little psychic.
Okay.
I started with that. So always a little psychic. My father and always had lots of crystals around the house, and I loved playing with crystals. And I started having intuitions with crystals.
Ah.
That's kind of how I got started. There was something more to these rocks than just being a rock.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then in my later teens, my father and I later learned it was a means for him to connect with his gay son,
Mm.
learned how to facet precious gemstones. And I became really quite good at it at a fairly, quite a young age. And there was a particular time you studied those stones. You studied it in all kinds of different directions and angles to look for the inclusions, any impurities, fractures, so that you could avoid those in the cutting process and getting
Mm.
the best color. And so you study and study, so you're actually having this mind meld with a little
Oh,
piece of
wow.
rock, piece of
Mm-hmm.
gravel. And I was trying to determine what design I was going to cut this stone into. And I finally came to this little design, and it was like, I thought, yeah, that's it.
Ah.
That's what we're going to go with. And then I heard a voice say, oh, that's wonderful. Yes, that's great. But what if we added these facets to the pavilion, the bottom part of the stone? I was going, oh, that really is a brilliant idea. And then I just realized, oh, I just had a conversation with a rock. And
Wow.
so, it was just, and so that was just kind of interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was, I studied a little bit about sacred geometry and then
Mm.
cutting for sacred geometry. And I saw a newspaper ad for a Reiki class. And this
Yeah.
was before the internet. So
Mm.
it was, and of
Years and
course,
years and years
years
ago.
ago, years, just yesterday.
Just yesterday.
But of course, this was in Utah,
Mm-hmm.
and I just felt so called to it. I just
Mm.
felt, oh my gosh, there's something there. And the class was actually in my neighborhood. I could have walked
Oh
to
my
it,
goodness.
but how could I have even had the conversation with my wife at the
Mm-hmm.
time? Because I was
Mm-hmm.
still married to my ex-wife. How
Mm-hmm.
could I have the conversation to her about paying for this?
Mm-hmm.
Because she controlled the purse strings, and
Mm.
and worse, how would I explain my absence from church on Sunday to take a class? I so I didn't take it. I didn't,
Oh.
I didn't. But man, it sparked something in me. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew there was something special there. And I loved going to bookstores, and I found a book on this woman's healing journey with Reiki.
Mm.
Didn't teach me anything about Reiki, but I latched onto that book, bought it, and kept it hidden. Um,
Mormons don't appreciate Reiki and energy and woo-woo.
more so than many other faiths,
Okay. Okay.
actually,
Okay.
because in some ways they are a little woo anyway.
Uh-huh. Right.
you know,
True.
but I mean, yeah, because some of the historical background of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so then I always wanted to be taught Reiki, and I then the internet was there, and I was able to do a lot of internet searches and
Mm-hmm.
bought other books and was able to understand more. And then finally, I had found someone to teach me, and I started in that path. My initial goal was to help other people. It wasn't about to help heal Jay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize that Jay deserved to be healed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And Reiki quickly taught me that I needed to be willing to be healed in order to help other people heal in their journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And whoa, that was
Mm-hmm.
a big learning lesson for me,
Mm-hmm.
because that was furthest thing from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And but I listened, and I followed that guidance, and it was teaching me. And I'm still healing, still constantly healing. I
Mm-hmm.
there was a in fact there was a particular time in my life where I had healed so many of my traumas, and I
Mm-hmm.
had just felt so, man, this is all shifted and changed. And I was going through a spiritual evolution in my life, and I made this kind of next leap into another evolution. And all of a sudden, some of those traumas came back up again. I was going, wait a
Oh.
minute, I healed these. Why did they come back?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, what I realized is that, oh, now I'm seeing those traumas at a higher level. And now I can heal them at even a deeper level. My awareness increased.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can heal them at even a deeper level. So that was just
Mm.
my one little experience that I had.
I love that. That there are layers because we build layers on top of the trauma. We find new and unique ways to cover it up.
And there's other ways, aspects that we don't even realize that are there until we reach a certain
Mm-hmm.
awareness. Because
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
we had to deal with everything all at once again, it might be too much for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
the
why kids have
divine,
to crawl before they can walk
yep,
because they
and if
have to
they
take it at a certain
and
pace.
those that walk before they crawl
Uh-huh.
have issues because they didn't learn that coordination
Really?
in the crawling. Absolutely, yeah,
I didn't know that. Hmm.
yeah.
So don't jump ahead, people.
Don't jump ahead. Crawl. Learn to crawl.
Crawl as long as you need.
And some of us are going backwards and
I
we're
know, right?
crawling.
I know. I know. Regression, a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Well, and it all has its place though, doesn't it? Because like you said, there are different layers that we need to heal on. And so sometimes going backwards is a way to catch that back up, that if we missed something, that we can, go back and work through that or go back and heal that. Because, it would be overwhelming if I stepped into the healing room and I was like, okay, here's my bucket of stuff. Just zap the bucket, would you please? It's not as effective as to do it incrementally.
And often too, we have to be willing to release the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we still have it is because it has served us some way.
Yep.
Even if it's not function, doesn't create a good function
Yes.
for us, it keeps us from going out. It keeps us from this. It keeps us from
Mm-hmm.
that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's protecting us in some regards, because we don't want the trauma, to be traumatized again.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't sometimes don't want to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be willing to let it go, and that takes a lot of courage.
Mm-hmm.
To Even though one would think that, man, no, you want to get rid of that trauma. Well, when all we've known is trauma, it's hard to make that shift, that
Mm-hmm.
change into
Mm-hmm.
going into something different.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there is a fear of it not working, if that makes sense. So when if you've never had hope in something better and then somebody offers you hope, you don't want to be disappointed by like failing at hope, if that makes sense. So you get very guarded at, moving forward and getting healed or getting in a better relationship because at least you know how to handle the mess you have now. You've learned how to
Exactly. Yep.
cope. You know what to do. You know what to expect. And for people of trauma, not knowing what to expect, not knowing what it's going to look like creates a lot of anxiety, which is a whole other thing. And that's why I think a lot of people go a little bit and they have to revert back because it was very scary to go to that place or to get toward that place because you don't want to be disappointed in the outcome.
And sometimes for some people, not everybody, but some
Mm-hmm.
people, they'll heal just a little bit of it, and then
Mm-hmm.
we have to stop
Mm-hmm.
because we make progress, but to take another step,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big leap for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big leap,
Mm-hmm.
and so we have to be a little bit more um, gentle with
Mm-hmm.
that, as
Mm-hmm.
is appropriate. It's okay. Other
Mm-hmm.
people know they have traumas, but they don't know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still holding on to something that they don't even recognize.
Right.
But being able to still release it and make those shifts and changes,
Mm-hmm.
um, it can be a beautiful thing. And so this is a
Mm-hmm.
process. Rarely do I ever see someone just get quote unquote zapped, using your words, zapped, and then they're completely 100% healed.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's usually a process, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a lifetime a process. But Reiki also helps us to have better coping mechanisms
Mm-hmm.
for when those issues come up. When all of a sudden I recognize, oh, I am responding to a trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And recognize I'm responding to trauma. I can respond differently. I don't have to respond the same way, and I can do some of my own inner healing work.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I like to do personally, yes, I love being able to offer Reiki sessions to people. It's beautiful to be able to experience that and to start your healing journey. But I want to empower those clients. That's why taking a class, it becomes beneficial because then you can start using Reiki for yourself
Ah.
and helping other people. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you're able to then see that God consciousness in working
Mm-hmm.
with the Reiki and helping other people and helping yourself, it becomes so much more empowering.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the one who's doing the healing work. I'm just there as the conduit,
Mm-hmm.
and the energies from the divine source, and it can be whatever divine source you want to name it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
will come in and does the healing work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I love seeing people empowered and being able to heal themselves. So, um, but even my own experience, I will have. Uh, I had a dark entity attached to me one time
Mm-hmm.
from a hospital experience.
I believe
I,
that.
yeah, I had this patient that was basically a psych hold in the intensive care unit. He was from
Mm.
another country and was a drug addict, but he was also a psychiatrist and came to Las Vegas to get dental work done. Now, who comes from Europe to get dental work done in Las Vegas? So anyway, he had a big difficulty, with reverting back to some of his addictive behaviors. And I had to be on what was called a one-on-one, so I wasn't even allowed to leave the room,
Mm.
um, and just because his behavior was so bad. And I did fine the first 2 days, but I had him on that third day,
Mm-hmm.
and so something happened, and then things afterwards were just really. I was just feeling garbagey and moody, and all of a sudden I realized, I think something's attached, something's on here. And I
Mm.
just kind of checked in, used my Reiki and just checked in. Yeah. And so I was able to then release it.
Mm.
So I had the skills and the ability to be able to release it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, by, but then I still followed up with a friend, another Reiki friend,
Mm-hmm.
and had them do another session on me just to make sure.
Yeah.
Just to make sure. But yeah, empowering people to be able to work on their own healing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yet, that doesn't mean that we're not going to get sessions from somebody else either.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because we were talking, earlier about physicians can't always heal themselves, and that
Right.
we don't have when we are, in trouble emotionally or physically, we're not at the same energy level that we need to be to always get clarity as to what's going on with ourselves, because, it takes a
And
lot of energy to do that.
and Jay sometimes has moments that aren't as pleasant as others.
No.
And when I need help,
Yeah.
does Jay ask for help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes, but not
Not
usually.
always.
But I also have friends who are intuitive enough to say, how are things going? But dang it, they know.
They see right through me.
And they see right through it, even though we're thousands of miles apart.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And so then it's great to have that kind of a community and that kind of friendship to be able to
Mm-hmm.
work with that. And to know that
Mm-hmm.
we are worth healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are valid to be able to heal.
Yeah.
So
Well,
part of my journey, I want to mention, so it's, the bio says I'm a senior licensed teacher. I'm a senior licensed teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. So it's reiki.org. And so it's one of the largest organizations of Reiki practitioners around. And so there are thousands and thousands of Reiki masters and practitioners have gone through the curriculum, but there's only about 40 or 50 of us worldwide that are licensed teachers. So that was just a huge process of being able to work on my own healing, work with teaching, and work with clients to be able to even apply to that program.
mm,
And then it's a 3 to 5 year program to be able to complete to be fully licensed.
Wow.
And man, I've learned so much in that
Mm-hmm.
time and been able to do so much. You know, I would not have been able to be a nurse had it not been for Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I'm very sensitive, like a lot of us are, and I feel other people's energies easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to be able to go into the intensive care unit where emotions are really at their strongest and people are really dealing with difficult issues, Reiki helped again put that barrier with me so that I could still feel the emotion of the
Mm-hmm.
people around, but then I was also given kind of the knowledge on how to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just became a beautiful thing. And like I said, I could not have done it without Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
Just having those crucial conversations with family, and with the patients themselves. I just had beautiful experiences with that.
Well, and you had said in our first session, I think, together that you could see the sacred essence of a person. Do you
Correct.
think that
Yeah.
that was magnified because of your Reiki training?
The sensitivity to it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Being able to
Mm-hmm.
see that because it was, in some way, it's a God consciousness
Mm-hmm.
coming through, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could see it to a small degree prior to that,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have the tools to be able to really understand it and work with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, a lot of clarity with the Reiki and being
Mm-hmm.
able to work in those situations. Now
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that I could, even though I could see the God consciousness of a person who's pretty evil.
Mm-hmm.
I yes, I could still see the God conscious in them. Doesn't mean I'm going to make them my best friend.
Yeah. We're not going to invite him over for a stay at the
No,
house or
no, no.
nope. Yeah. No. Boundaries, boundaries.
Exactly.
The the Reiki that I have had has been both remote and in person. And I think I get more, I mean, I get more out of it in person only because of the whole experience. I'm a very experiential person. So, the low lights, the music or whatever, it puts me in the mood. And there are times that, like, I have a friend who does Reiki and she'll call me, especially with the shoulder I've been dealing with, and she'll say, Midge, I've been thinking about you and I'm wondering, do you do you give me permission to do some Reiki on you for this afternoon? And I said, sure. Do I need to know when you're going to do it? She said, no, not necessarily. Okay. And other times, I've been on the phone with her and maybe she'll do something. But I loved it every time she would find an inspiration to go and get trained in something like with Reiki or she did massage, that I got to be her guinea pig.
Ah, so this is talking about guinea pigs. This is
Do you do Reiki on guinea pigs?
yes, you can,
Yes.
because I do animal Reiki too.
There you
Yes, I do
go. I love
remember.
it. I love it.
But so one of the delicacies one of the delicacies of in Ecuador is guinea pig.
Oh.
And so when I was building my house here, this was the first house in this development. And I told my developer, I said, well, I said, I know I'm your guinea pig, and I know what you do to guinea pigs here.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I couldn't eat a guinea pig.
No,
Oh my goodness. But it is fun to have someone who likes to do a lot of energy, different kinds of energy works and stuff because she's been a great experience for me. I help her, but I get benefits because
absolutely.
I'm the one on the table.
So what's how I traditionally do distance healing sessions is
Hmm.
I do use Zoom. So
Mm,
we are live together, video, and usually I'll have the client lay down so I can't really even see them.
mm.
And then I use some of the integrated tools within Zoom to play music. And
Uh-huh.
there's some great music channels in there that I really like. And so I create as much of that ambiance as
Hmm.
possible.
That's awesome.
to be able to, and I can't do different essential oils aren't going to come over the
Right.
internet, but
Right. Right. You don't have smell-o-vision.
you don't have smell-o-vision. Yeah, can't send the sage
No,
through
no.
the through
Well,
the
but those
camera.
but those types of things, I mean, like I have a diffuser here, I have sage here. So, there are things that I guess clients could choose to do and have a scent that
Yep.
that grounds them or helps them to feel calm, diffusing in the room with them.
And I usually will have them engage in that before even
Mm-hmm.
coming before the session as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have quite a few clients that'll come through, and a lot of times they don't even know what it is that they're wanting the
Mm-hmm.
session for. And so then I just, instead of going searching for trauma, going and searching for something bad,
Right.
guess what else Reiki can do? Reiki can help us to empower our future, and empower our intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I have a program that I'm working on, some kind of a outreach that I'm wanting to do, and I can infuse Reiki into that, into the future,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and being able to send Reiki to that. And I can
Mm-hmm.
dream basically with Reiki and send energy to it to enrich it before we
Mm-hmm.
even get there.
Mm. Okay.
So I love being able to do that. So people who can manifesting with Reiki, because now um, I'm sending Reiki to the past for the blocks, to heal the blocks that's preventing me from emerging into my future.
Right.
And then I'm sending Reiki forward to be able to smooth that path out,
Mm.
and to find the obstacles, and to create the appropriate learning opportunities to help us continue to grow on that path.
Mm. Awesome.
So it's, yeah, not only just for healing only, but also empowering. Because it's also
Mm.
a spiritual connection, like I mentioned last time.
Mm-hmm.
It is a spiritual path for a lot of people, not a
Mm-hmm.
religious path, but a spiritual path.
Mm-hmm.
And finding that divine wisdom for whatever we're working with is
Mm-hmm.
a really beautiful blessing of Reiki.
Yes. And to recognize that, when Jesus sent out the disciples and empowered them to heal the sick and to cast out demons and all of the things that went with that, the religion, like you said, there are certain religions that just have a hard line as to what our spiritual life could be and what our gifts are. But we all have gifts. We all have divine energy within us. And so, you know, when you feel called to a healing modality, that's a nudge from your own sacred self that you might not have even connected with, but you're being pulled into a direction. And, being able to heal the body, if it's Reiki or theta healing or whatever modality you've been trained in or you get pulled to, it's just another way for, I think, God to do his work through humans.
And sometimes, for those of us who feel called that way, and especially if
Mm-hmm.
our religious path kind of frowns upon it,
Mm-hmm.
that increases, that resistance and that those issues,
Yes.
just like it is when knowing that you're gay
Yes.
and your church isn't going to accept you. It's the same
Yeah.
same type of philosophy. Or you get the double whammy that you're gay and you feel called to healing.
That's right.
You're getting a double whammy.
Yes,
But
that's right.
but to understand that, the church isn't the one who gave us the abilities. It was the
That's
divine
right.
that gave us the abilities, and to
Mm-hmm.
connect. And the divine
Mm-hmm.
wants us to be able to use them when we're using them for the better good,
Yes.
not for ourselves. Because there are people out there, unfortunately, who do use it, um, those intuitions, and that feeds their ego. So
Mm-hmm.
the more we can do these things and help, Christ
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have an ego.
That's right.
Christ doesn't see himself any better than he sees you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we can do these types of things without ego, and if you can find practitioners that can do this without ego, it's going to be a beautiful session. But there are those who haven't evolved completely themselves. They're still working on it. And that's
Yes.
okay. They're still working on it.
Yeah.
And just recognize that. We're all
Yeah.
in different states of healing.
Yeah.
But spiritual trauma is something else that Reiki can help
Mm-hmm.
with as well, because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
many of us have gone through that spiritual trauma, and being able to realize that, oh yeah, um, church really messed me up for God.
Mm-hmm.
And then to make that
Mm-hmm.
differentiation, okay, then what is God to you?
Mm-hmm.
And define it differently than what how the church is defining it for you.
Right. Yeah. There is no right way. It's just your way. As far as healing, and I'm going as far as healing because, it doesn't matter how anybody else got there. We all have our own journey and, taking it
Absolutely.
slow
Yep.
and just trusting your own intuitions to get there. Yeah.
It's interesting being able to, navigate those paths and being able to see those healing frequencies come through,
Yeah.
and seeing people make those interesting transition. I taught a young man, um, an Ecuadorian, Reiki here in Ecuador, and just this last week, and to see him being able to make those connections back again. He already was gifted. He already knew he was
Mm,
gifted, and but he didn't have the language and the support to be able to guide him in that process.
mm,
And so then now he's got some tools that he can work with, and he'll be able to do some beautiful things, should he choose it that way.
mm-hmm.
So we're all in these paths of growth, and so for me, Reiki can help each one of us in whatever path it is that that we're connected to.
Mm-hmm.
I know artists who use Reiki in their artwork,
Oh,
musicians, people who dance use Reiki for infusing their dance. It can be a beautiful thing.
that's awesome. So how would someone get on your schedule if they were to want to experience a Reiki session or even take a class?
So just go to my website, the illuminreikiacademy.com. And then if you're looking for a session, then there's just a section in there for sessions only. If you're looking for maybe some more training or just even information about Reiki, there's a lot of information as well as there. Check out some of the blogs I
Mm-hmm.
published. There's some interesting concepts through there, but then they can um, just go ahead and book sessions directly through the website.
Mm-hmm.
I use Calendly
Okay.
as a link in there. It works out beautifully.
Uh-huh.
And then if you're someone who's interested in maybe training, but they just have some questions, they can
Mm-hmm.
email me, or they can book just a session as an inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love being able to do those, and
Mm-hmm.
just being able to, what is it you're wanting in life?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we don't know.
That's exactly
And
right.
and that's why we need
I want
something
to
to be
know
able.
what I want.
I want to know what I want. It would be so much easier, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes Reiki helps allow us to slow down enough to be able to
Mm,
listen.
mm-hmm.
That's really one of the biggest keys about Reiki, is to be able to listen.
Mm,
And then when we slow down enough to listen, then we go, oh, it's this. I'm really meant to be a master gardener.
mm,
Whatever
mm-hmm.
process can be. This is what really empowers me.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to that 7-Eleven to work, but man, I could. So that just that's just a little example of just
Mm-hmm.
different ways. Even if we don't understand our path, we can use Reiki to help find a path.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everyone is blessed enough to understand their paths,
Mm-hmm.
and I can guarantee you, all of us have a path,
Mm-hmm.
and life will be so much easier and simpler when we actually find it.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate you, Jay. I appreciate you coming back and I appreciate you giving us information on Reiki and making it so accessible and I don't have to travel to Ecuador for one session.
You can if you want to.
I can't if is it hot? Really hot? Because it's hot here in
No,
North Carolina. We're
no, no,
having a
no.
heat wave.
I my right now it's 65 degrees,
Oh.
and delightful.
I'll be there in the morning.
And like the highest it ever gets is 72, and
Oh my
probably the
goodness.
lowest it gets is 48.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you want to
Come to Ecuador.
come to
It's
Ecuador.
it's spring every day of the year here.
Well,
Because
I
I'm
do.
high. Yep.
I was just going to say I do love my snow and I love my fall, but
Yeah.
yeah, I might have to come during the summer.
Yep. That's why I'm not in Las Vegas in the 120-degree
Oh
winter
no, no.
temperatures.
See, we were at the cabin this weekend and I actually wore a sweatshirt. We were in the 60s, the 50s, and then we had some hot days, but I mean, the closer we got back to the McNobb Manor down here in North Carolina, the lower part, it was like, oh, you could feel the heat coming through the car
Yeah.
windows. It's like, oh, oppression.
Yeah.
Being oppressed. Well, I love you, buddy. I'm
Thank you,
so
thank you,
glad that
thank
we've
you.
met. I'm glad that you've been on, and we will find something else for you to talk about at some point. So
Okay.
we'll come up with something. But I appreciate you very much. Thank you for
Thank you
coming
so
back.
much. I appreciate everyone who listens on your podcast too.
Yeah, thank you.
You
So, guys, and
betcha.
I thank you and I honor you for all of the things that you do for the Gay with God podcast, the supporting, the sharing, subscribing, wherever you get your podcasts. When you want to connect with Jay, go to the empowered dot. I'll get this right sometime today. Go to the show page at empoweredmidge.podbean.com and you can find all of his links so that you can connect with him and do all the cool things that he just talked to you about. And you can sign up to have your own personal session with Jay. Check out our Facebook group, Gay with God, where we do a monthly group entitled My Faith Journey, where you just hang out with some of us, then get support through whatever you're going through for the day, how you're dealing with your coming out, how you're dealing with life in general. We just have a good time having a conversation and supporting each other. Remember to answer all those questions to get into the Gay with God support group so that you can know who we are and we'll know who you are and everybody will stay safe. If you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, are not even sure if you are gay, God has always been within you. Even when you didn't know it, you have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.